Welcome everybody, my name is EruptionFang and this is Volume 6, Episode 5, titled The Coming Storm. So, Cinder returns to the Spiders for her info about Team RWBY. Miss Malachite informs her that they were on the Argus Limited headed to Atlas where Cinder's identity is revealed. As if that mattered, someone who has been looking for Cinder is NEOOOO. She returns from her Skygrave to avenge Roman's death, and so the two fight. After a bit of a brawl, Cinder exerts her maiden powers, telling NEOOOO that RWBY is the one to blame, and the two should team up to kill her. First, NEOOOO's back. Yay! Everyone rejoice! She's back, she's alive. So, now that that's done, I'm not a fan of what they're doing. I like NEOOOO, she was at one point one of my favorite characters. But it's not the fact that she returned, I knew she would come back eventually and best sooner rather than later. But it's the direction that they've taken her. During the fall of Beacon, NEOOOO was obviously separated from Torchwick. So when Torchwick died, NEOOOO obviously didn't witness it, not knowing he was even killed when it happened. So NEOOOO had to not only figure out he was dead, but also who to exact revenge upon. NEOOOO had a while to think about this. From Volume 3 to Volume 6, time has passed. NEOOOO has known for some time now who she's wanted to kill, and Cinder was on that list. NEOOOO is not loyal to Cinder, NEOOOO was loyal to Torchwick. It's currently uncertain why she cared so much about him, but fact of the matter is that she did. Without him, there was no one, and so NEOOOO remained a wild card. But this episode got rid of that and placed her alongside a generic villain. She tried to kill Cinder for a reason. Yes, she last saw Torchwick fighting RWBY, but the fact that she went after Cinder shows that it was more than just one person that she was blaming. NEOOOO likely went after Cinder because of her plan that drugged Torchwick into it. If you didn't bring him into this, then he wouldn't have been killed in the first place. NEOOOO fighting Cinder showed that it wasn't just good guys versus bad guys. NEOOOO was going after anyone who could be blamed. If she had killed Cinder, then she likely would have gone after RWBY as well. But they didn't do that. Now all of a sudden, Cinder has recruited NEOOOO. NEOOOO, who was only loyal to Torchwick and has been killed and she blames Cinder for part of it, that girl she's now following. It's not a good direction for NEOOOO's character. It started off incredibly well with her trying to kill Cinder. Just that action alone speaks for so much, but they've done so much harm with a power move by Cinder. I'm fine with having Cinder outpower NEOOOO. NEOOOO has been shown to know when she's been beat. She's smarter than most characters. But it's the fact that she recruited her that just undid everything. Now, here's the thing. A lot of the times when I talk about characters, I'm just taking the piss out of them. When I talk about Ozpin, I make fun of him, the decisions he makes, the lies that he tells, I'm just making fun of him. I in no way am saying the writers need to make Ozpin tell the truth more. Ozpin is being taken in a bad direction. No. In fact, I would say Ozpin's character is being done incredibly well. He's exactly where he needs to be, and he's gradually progressed into this morally gray, questionable character. But I'll make fun of and judge him as a character. The writers are doing just fine with him. But with NEOOOO, this is me saying that the writers have fucked up, or are about to, considering she hasn't joined just yet. But genuinely, the one thing they had to not do with her character was pick a side. She needed to be a wild card. It would have been more entertaining, given her more depth, shown a bit of the psychology going on within her, and they almost had it. But now it just seems like they're gonna team up and they dropped the ball right at the end. Even if she ran, that'd have been perfectly fine. But she didn't. Now NEOOOO is likely going to be a generic villain. However, all that needs to be done to redeem what's being set up is to have her backstab Cinder. If that happens, then everything I said doesn't matter. But until that moment though, what has currently happened is a flaw. So hooray, NEOOOO is back. I hope to learn more about her past. But the one thing that needed to not happen, happened. Meanwhile, back at the farm, what's the worst thing that can happen? So yes, the residents of the household as well as the rest of the farm all appear to have died in their sleep. In true Scooby-Doo fashion, they all decide to split up and search for supplies. First was Blake and Yang. They are looking for a mode of transportation. This doesn't exactly go anywhere until Yang has another Adam hallucination. Blake goes on to explain Adam to Yang and says how she'll protect her if he ever comes back. Yang does not like this sentiment, and so she storms off in anger. At first, it took me a little while to realize why Yang was so angry at Blake. It seemed like a pretty generic thing to say, honestly. I'll protect you? Characters say that all the time. I'd be shocked if Yang has never said that. But I think the reason Yang got so upset over it was because she thinks that Blake thinks she can't handle herself. Like she's handicapped. Episode 1 showed us that Blake does think that Yang is incapable of doing small tasks, or at least needs help doing them. So it seemed like an honest and normal gesture that any of the characters would have said to each other, but I guess Yang still holds a little bit of hostility towards Blake. So that was a fine moment. A little confusing at first, but it was fine in the end. What I really feel as though harmed this was Yang's Adam trigger. I've talked about this many times before. The writers just don't know how to go about Yang's PTSD. They don't know which one is better, practicality or psychology. In not knowing which one is best, they keep doing both and they don't mix well. You want to know why Yang is having flashes of Adam again? It's because Blake is here and it's relevant to the plot and they can bond over it. That's the reason it's back. Where was it in Volume 5? Nowhere. But her hand was shaking then. That counts. Not really. The only time Yang had gotten triggered by Adam was in Volume 4. It happened one time, and that's it. The moment she got her arm, the show switched to practicality. Now, Adam's not relevant. She's not getting triggered. She has no PTSD. Adam's gone. Adam's a faint memory. Then her father told her about her anger problems, and you know what happened? That's what Volume 5 ran with. Her anger. The only time her arm shook was before or after a fight. This was seemingly to play off the words of advice that her father gave her. She was trying to keep herself in check. So her arm was always associated with her anger, not fear. Now all of a sudden, the show switches back to psychology. Adam hasn't been relevant or a thought on Yang's mind since early Volume 4, but now it's back. The show doesn't know how to deal with Yang, and so it just ends up a mess. Just because they've made an attempt to deal with PTSD doesn't mean that it's good. It's currently making her inconsistent. Is she scared and haunted by Adam, or is she trying to control her anger? Clearly it's not the anger one because she got pissed at her friend. Yang's a mess. I made a more concise video about this practicality versus psychology struggle with Yang, and I'd advise watching it to get a more clear sense of what I'm talking about. Then there was RWBY and Weiss. After hearing what Jin said, Weiss has now begun to question whether or not they should continue with their journey to Atlas. It's very quickly brushed off by an, "Are you serious?" chalking that up to her being tired. They then find food and then leave. But something spooky lurks in the cellar. I can't judge whether or not Weiss's feelings about going to Atlas are real. It doesn't particularly matter which way she feels, but that opinion lost meaning when she said she was just tired. So, am I to believe that you've now begun to question your goal? Or are you just tired and saying words? Because of it, I can't really discuss Weiss and how she feels. Now, I've gone on record in saying this episode really wasn't that good, and honestly, it isn't. It's a spectacle because of Neo, and that's it. Yes, Neo returned, that's great, people love her. The fact that she returned is enough to make people love the episode. They got Neo and a fight scene, what more could they ask for? I've already discussed Neo and how she's being dragged into the world of genericism, and to build off of what I was previously talking about, this Neo situation is another practicality versus psychology debate. By teaming up and going after RWBY, it functions practicality. She last saw her with Roman, and so I blame you. But by antagonizing Cinder, that is the psychological approach. You have to backtrack to think, why would Neo blame Cinder for his death? In doing that, that gives you an insight into her mind and how she thinks. But the show almost always goes practical. As far as Neo's aware, Roman and RWBY could have become best friends on top of that airship and then landed it and then Cinder killed him. That's equally as possible. Neo doesn't know what actually happened. The audience knows, and I feel as though this team up is basing it off of that. It's definitely a personal opinion I have with this show. I think the most interesting characters are the ones that can be psychoanalyzed and are often the characters I talk the most about and have the strongest opinions on. People like Ozpin, Adam, Whitley. It's these types of people you're capable of looking into and determining how fate led them on their path and how they became the people that they did. There's not many of these characters, and so when an opportunity so beautifully and easily presents itself and chooses to go down the road of practicality, I get upset over it. Yes, she still cares about Roman and that's not going anywhere, but it's the mind that so often gets overlooked. And Yang has been this constant problem the show doesn't know how to handle. But this episode also falters just because of its dialogue. This episode lacks subtlety where it mattered. It had two good moments, the aforementioned Yang being mad at Blake for a simple statement, and also when RWBY and Weiss found the bar. That was a really good and subtle scene that walked around explaining things to the audience. But when it came to the mystery, it was about as subtle as a sledgehammer. Let's first begin with Crow's line.
It's the same in every house.
What?
Bodies. Every bed in every home. It's like the whole estate just went to sleep and never woke up.
That last bit wasn't necessary. It was as though they all just went to sleep and didn't wake up. There's no subtlety to that. So now the audience is just forced to think, okay then, well just don't go to sleep. The show right out of the gate just solved the mystery for you. What it should have done was kept the audience guessing along. Instead of giving us this analogy of what actually happened, he should have said how everything was the same in all the houses. No marks, no external damage, they all just seem to have died. There would still be a portion of the audience who would see right through that, but what it doesn't do is tell you exactly what happened. In this case, people would still be guessing. But it's not just Crow's line that failed dialogue. It was also Yang and Weiss. Let me ask you, what is the proper way to express emotion? Through your body and voice? Not in this episode. Both Yang and Weiss just bluntly say they're tired.
I don't know. I'm just tired.
I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just really tired and I really hate this place.
That in tandem with Crow's line is just the worst mystery ever. I cannot believe it happened even once, but the fact that two characters just outright say with words that they're tired blows me away.
I never woke up.
I'm just really tired and I'm just tired.
It's lazy. Much like with Crow's line, all it needed to do was have a little bit of subtlety to it. They're tired. Just be tired. They don't need to say with words that they're tired. They're actors. Act. What it should have done was just have the characters lose emotion in their voice, talk a bit slower, things that happen when you're tired. That's an incredibly subtle way of feeding us details. Most people I don't think would even actually notice it. Even in the delivery of their lines, Kara and Barbara were trying to express some kind of emotion as though they were trying to be tired. But being tired really just strips emotions. It's as boring and bland as it gets, but it's better than saying, I'm tired. Perhaps they wanted us to be aware of what was happening, but I don't see the benefit in what that would provide. There was just no subtlety to the mystery that was going on, and it kind of ruins the fun. It's like a Scooby-Doo episode where you know who the bad guy is in the first 2 minutes. But the dialogue problems do not end there, unfortunately. Blake. About 15% of her character is dedicated to explaining Adam's traits. What is he like? What does he not like? What are his pros? What are his cons? Does he like fish? Does he like long walks on the beach? What is your greatest weakness? Why should I hire you? Please, Blake, tell me more details about Adam that I should know.
First, I thought Adam was justice.
He never really liked people telling him what to do.
Then I thought he was passion.
Adam's strong.
He was spite.
His real power comes from control.
He won't accept equality.
He used to get in my head, make me feel small.
Only suffering for what he feels the world did to him.
But now I see he just wanted to pull me down to his size.
I had Adam and Ilya, after all.
Blake has built more of Adam's Wikipedia page than Adam has.
He used to get in my head, make me feel small. But now I see he just wanted to pull me down to his size.
When? When did that ever happen? Show me a scene. There is none. There is no backstory. There is no proof. There is nothing aside from Blake's words. It would be as though you as the audience had never seen or knew anything about Ozpin, and then I explained him to you. You'd think he was the worst person ever. It's a completely biased opinion told through words. It's so hard to defend Adam because the show gives us nothing with him, but always talk shit about him. Blake at this point isn't going to be like, oh yeah, he got me a beautiful bouquet of flowers, he was really sweet. Blake's not gonna reminisce on the good times of her past. Blake needs to stop explaining Adam's traits and let Adam show us his traits. But first, this show needs to show us Adam. Most of the traits Blake describes haven't even been shown at all. The character shorts try to reinforce these things, but what I don't like about the character shorts is that they're character shorts. They're not part of the main series, and so if it was information prevalent to the audience's understanding of a character, then it should be inside of the main series. But in the main series, he started off as a psychopath, then he became an angry ex-boyfriend, and now it's up in the air as to where he resides. So Blake shouldn't be giving us his eHarmony profile. What we need to know about Adam and his personality needs to be shown through scenes and flashbacks. Whatever it needs to do to give us the information it wants us to know about him. If it can't do that, then there's no need for Blake to explain him to us. Let's shift to a fun note. If you've made it this far, then I thank you, as I probably triggered a lot of people. What I've noticed now twice this volume is it keeps indirectly mirroring other Rooster Teeth shows. This episode, as well as likely the upcoming ones, mirror Day 5. Don't fall asleep, you'll die if you do. Episode 3, the flashback, mirrored Nomad of Nowhere, a world once filled with magic and castles all gone, leaving only 2 eternal individuals with magic. You thought that animated universe theory was wiped out? You're wrong! It just built a different one. I can't wait till the end of the series where Team RWBY fights the gods in their Mjolnir armor. That'll be good. And so does it for the lighter note. See, wasn't that fun? Let's get back to the episode. The one thing I feel as though I haven't talked about is the Grimm. Or supposedly a Grimm. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. So excluding the whole not fun mystery of it, this Grimm seems to be able to make people fatigued. While everyone at Brunswick Farms is in their bed, I don't believe it is falling asleep that killed them, rather it killed them while they were asleep. Last episode I said how the Headless Horseman is associated with Brunswick. That still remains true, but it seems as though nothing of the sort is happening. The only tie that I can think of is the haunted and scary feeling that is being emitted. I don't know by name any creature, mythological monster that kills through sleep. There are stories of monsters who put you to sleep and feed off nightmares until you die. It's their fuel that keeps them going. So while the illusion of dying once you fall asleep is there, I am a believer that whatever it is fed off of these people while they were asleep and they were incapable of waking up. So I think if any of the members of Team RWBY fall asleep, it's not instant death. And we're probably going to see nightmares of our characters, likely including Adam and Crow's sort of betrayal with Ozpin. It would be a way of getting inside of the minds of some of our characters through showing us what haunts them. So I definitely think we're going to remain here for at least a few more episodes. Whatever this Grimm is, it provides an interesting opportunity to deliver information to us, but we still don't know what it does just yet. In the end, this was not a great episode. It's a spectacle that really blinds a lot of people. Neo returned. That was great. I loved it. The fight was entertaining. And that's what a lot of people latch onto this episode. Neo returned. It wasn't a lame entrance, and so because that did a good job, the episode is good. But they've begun to take her in a bad direction. Brunswick Farms. Haunted, creepy, atmosphere is there, but the dialogue isn't. It was an entertaining episode. I was not bored through it at all, but analyzing it left a lot to be desired. The episode did a lot, but it didn't necessarily do it good. Compare that to last episode. Last episode didn't really do anything, but what it did do, it did really well. Listen, I know throughout this video it seems like I didn't enjoy the episode. That's not true. I did enjoy it. It's an enjoyable episode to watch. But these videos are not only meant to give you my fully fleshed out opinions about it, it's also meant to analyze how it set things up. Is it for the better that certain decisions were made, and give you an opinion that isn't based on emotion? If it were, then I'd say it was great, cool parts were cool, creepy parts were creepy. It got the proper emotions out of me that it was trying to get. So in that sense, it was good. But from an analytical standpoint, character direction is off, dialogue is lazy, and certain problems continue to persist. It was entertaining and I enjoyed it, but it was not good.